the 80s. In fact, it was the 1953 CIA-orchestrated coup that overthrew the people's government, which sowed the first seeds of mistrust between the two nations. In February 1979, the Ayatollah Khomeini's Islamic Revolution toppled the increasingly unpopular Shah. Shortly afterwards, the Islamic Republic of Iran was established through a national referendum. 52 US citizens were held hostage for 444 days when the US embassy in Tehran was seized. As a result, the US severed diplomatic relations with Iran. Anti-American sentiment in Iran was heightened. Nearly 20 years on, things are thankfully very different. All thanks to football. They say it's only a game. Well, at the 1998 World Cup finals in France, it proved much more than that. Fate ensured the United States and Iran were drawn together in the same first-round group, the first football match ever between the two nations. It didn't sound like the most attractive of games, but with all that had gone before it, Iran versus the USA was more than a football match. Hamid Esteli put Iran ahead, an extra special moment for him.
You can see how I felt about it from the expression on my face. I was absolutely thrilled about scoring that goal. Being a defensive midfielder, I rarely score. Then all of a sudden, I'd scored a goal that was etched on everyone's minds in Iran.
Mehdi Madavikia's second-half strike ensured a late goal by the States didn't matter. Iran won 2-1. In fact, the game was played in such a good spirit, FIFA gave both teams its Fair Play award. Relations between the countries had taken a turn for the better. To such an extent that the Iranian national team has just undertaken a 3-game tour of the United States. They were invited by US Soccer, whose chief operating officer is Tom King.
The genesis of this match happened the night before our World Cup match in Lyon in France '98, when both delegations in the security meeting before the game said that we really must make tomorrow's match the beginning of a relationship between US Soccer and the Iranian Football Federation, and we must sit down immediately following the game and discuss when we could bring the Iranian national team to the United States.
As per the US State Department's regulations, all Iranian nationals entering US territory are obliged to be fingerprinted and photographed. The Iranian FA protested against this, and their wish was granted.
We worked with our government and explained to them how important that the welcome must be without fingerprinting and photographing, and it went to the highest levels within our government, within the State Department and within the Justice Department, and when they realized the magnitude of this game and what it meant to the people in Iran, what it meant to our soccer community in the United States, they granted the waiver of the fingerprinting.
Iran's tour of the States involved games against Mexico, Ecuador and last, but certainly not least, the United States. Apart from the Iranian team that participated at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics and teams of Iranian wrestlers, no Iranian sporting delegation has competed in the States before. For all the squad, apart from Mohamed Hakpour, who plays in Major League Soccer, it was their first visit to the States. So what sort of reception did they receive?
Our American hosts have treated us very well. We haven't had any problems. They've done everything possible to make us feel at home. Just like in many other places we've travelled to, the Iranian fans have made us feel very welcome too. We've been overwhelmed by their support since our arrival in Oakland.
Although the trip was historic for obvious reasons, it's important not to forget Iran were there to play football. The 2-1 loss to Mexico in Oakland was followed by an encounter against Ecuador in the Los Angeles Coliseum. Forward Ali Daei is tipped to become Asian Footballer of the Year in April. He showed the finishing which has made him a success in the German Bundesliga with Hertha Berlin. Another German exile, Ali Musavi, helped seal a 2-1 victory. The Players have been called ambassadors due to the nature of the visit. They saw themselves as footballers, and only that.
In my opinion, sport is different from politics and many other things. In general, the people of Iran and the United States have no problem with one another.
Football is Iran's #1 sport, and its footballers are idolised. Thus the trip gave rise to the biggest gathering of Iranians outside Iran. 2 million live in the States, an estimated 500,000 of those in Southern California. The adulation, in fact, seemed to help them concentrate on the football side of things.
We have come here for sport and don't want to mix it with other issues. Like in any sporting event, there are winners and losers. Like I said before, we're only here for the sport, and we want to play well.
For the US national team, the game against Iran was very much seen as part of their rebuilding after a disastrous showing at France '98. Head coach Bruce Arena and his team also preferred to play down the political angle. However, they did admit that football can be more than just a game.
It bridges gaps and ties countries together sometimes, and hopefully we can do a little bit of that. I think even though we lost in the World Cup to Iran, I think we furthered relations about 10 years in 90 minutes.
Once you step between the lines, the politics are immaterial, and it's a friendly competition, and we're really challenging the skills of each other on the soccer field, not off the field.
The Rose Bowl in the Los Angeles suburb of Pasadena was the venue for the historic match. A feeling of goodwill abounded, and there was certainly no shortage of colour or atmosphere.
This is all Iranians together, and we love Iran and we love US.
To be able to have the countries come together, play football in America, it's good. I've been having tears in my eyes the whole morning. I've been here 4 hours before the game started, and it's fantastic.
An official crowd of 49,212. An incredible 49,000 of them cheering on Iran. Proof enough as to why Los Angeles is known as Tehrangeles. 7 minutes in, echoes of France '98. Madavikia put Iran 1-up and the stadium became a sea of red, white and green. Shortly after, Hodad Azizi, currently a free agent after being released by German side Cologne, hit the post as Iran dominated the first half. American nerves were calmed early in the second half, though, when promising midfielder Chris Armas equalised. And that's how it finished, a fitting result. And there was even talk of a rematch in Tehran.
They're invited, we would be truly honoured to reciprocate and go back to Tehran. There have been discussions as far as picking a date. Obviously, it's difficult not knowing our World Cup qualification schedule, but if invited, we will go.
During their stay, the Iranians enjoyed the chance to visit Universal Studios near Hollywood. January of next year has been suggested as the date for the Americans' return visit to Iran. Whether it happens or not, football has again helped to heal wounds between two nations that 20 years ago seemed set to bleed forever.